And what happens then, we have a bunch of people who have great businesses, but they're just the best kept secret. If you're not doing video, this is sort of a hack for you to do video until you get the confidence to be able to do video.
Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Aoife Roche. If you don't know who Aoife is, she is a marketing consultant and AI strategist who helps business owners solve problems with AI. She's host of the Business Innovators podcast. She's also the founder of SuperDupe.ai, an all-in-one video avatar content creation platform. And her membership is called the AI Authority Lab. Aoife, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm excited to talk to you today. We're going to explore how to create AI video clones, which is really exciting. But before we go there, I want to hear your story. How did you get into AI?
Yeah, it's like, because everyone became an AI expert overnight, right? Isn't that what happened with ChatGPT? But no, my background is in corporate, right? So large scale tech transformational change. So I spent the best part of 10 years in the UK building up that career, being brought into large financial institutions to look and help them with integrations of technology across their industry wide and company wide. So then I left that and became an entrepreneur in 2018 because I realized marketing was very similar, where data was just moving from left to right, right? So we had to figure out how to move the data. And when ChatGPT came out and I started looking at the levels of automation and technology, I was like, okay, this is very familiar because, the idea of the integrations and figuring out how we could optimize processes and procedures and do all of that. So then I just started really getting much more involved, knowing that with the way that the AI is developing and advancing, anyone who's a marketing agency owner right now really does need to shift to be a data-driven marketing agency, because AI pretty much executes on 80 to 90% of the work that us agencies used to do. So it was a strategic move as well as one that was a good fit.
Okay, so how soon after ChatGPT rolled out did you start realizing maybe I can have my business be very focused on AI, and kind of tell us about the journey and all these different things that you've been creating?
Yeah, so, and I tell you, it started because we had a team of, at one point at the beginning of 2023, I had 31 people.
Wow.
So it was quite a large operation. We had 26 virtual assistants running and then 5 people across. It was a lot. So when ChatGPT came out and I started looking at being able to process orientated and looking at what we could actually execute with the advancement of AI, we scaled from we got rid of, we have 4 virtual assistants now, down from 26.
Wow.
So that was the kind of the real threshold moment for me when I said, well, if I can do this for me, and it's not that I want to be trying to get rid of jobs and get people out of their jobs, but this is about creating efficiency, right? How can we do things better, faster, and more efficient? And then once I saw that in my own organization, then I realized the vast majority of people had the exact same problems. So then I started going out and becoming a much more prolific voice, I think, on talking about how they needed to become data driven.
Well, and tell us about these different various things that you started along the way as well. SuperDupe.
Oh, yeah. So, well, even at every layer and level now. So we had a copywriting team. We got rid of them. AI, ChatGPT is now our copywriter. We had an SEO team. We got rid of the SEO team. We now use Siona.ai for our SEO. We had a graphics team. The graphics, I still don't think Canva's doing a good job, but they haven't exactly got there. We had an entire video editing team. Now we still have the video editing team, but with the combination of Opus Pro and Submagic, we've massively reduced down. So it was like looking at every single vertical within the business, then looking at every single task that was being executed within that, and then looking for the opportunity for automation within that task. Not everything can be automated 100%, but that's what we did. And what I continue, like every day, there's so many new AIs out there. I feel like I saw one recently, it was a 30-day AI challenge. And I was like, I nearly do that, only I'm too afraid I'll go down another rabbit hole. And I'll end up spending more and more time. But one of the things that kind of brought me to the SuperDupe was I was doing, we had an agency that used to do med spa marketing. And I had to do a lot of VSLs for the ads, and I hated it. And I was like,
Video sales letters. Is that what you're talking
video,
about?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Video sales letters where you have for the funnels, I had to do these videos, and then I had to learn the script, hire the videographer, get them to come around, do my hair, do my makeup, and I felt under such pressure to do it. And I hated it when it was recorded, and then I'd make mistakes, and I thought, come on now, there has to be a better way to do this. And that's kind of where the super dupe idea kind of was born out of, was okay, well, what if we could create a version of me that looked like me, talked like me, sounded like me, moved like me, but wasn't me, so that I could create these mass marketing video sales letter or email campaigns or content for social media. And that's kind of how that idea grew. It grew from a desire to not want to be on social media.
Very fascinating. And then tell us about the AI Authority Lab also.
Yeah, so with that, so I've been running a bunch of training programs for like 8 weeks with people where I teach them how to leverage LinkedIn and AI to optimize their LinkedIn presence, to do their outreach and their lead generation. I've been running that. I put, dozens of students through that. But now I've realized that it's just changing so rapidly. I was re-recording the course every 8 weeks, right?
Wow.
Because the AIs are changing so quickly. So then I thought, you know what, rather than putting people into these 8 week courses, why don't I just put them into a 12-month membership program and then put all the courses on there? And as I create the courses, they'll get access to them under a paid membership. And that way I can have more flexibility to be able to put in more wider and broader content rather than it just being LinkedIn. So that's definitely the newest initiative for 2025. And I'm excited for that because it's going to allow me to really not have limitations on what I can teach people within a timeline or within a budget. It's like you join and you're all in for the year and you get everything I'm learning, you can learn as well.
Very cool. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We're here now to talk really about making video clones of yourself, AI avatars, as they're referred to in the AI vernacular. The first question I want to ask you, which is a question I'm sure a lot of people are probably wondering, why in the world should I, as a marketer or a creator, clone myself in video? I know you hinted at it a little bit, but let's unwrap that a little bit as to why that might be something people should consider.
Yeah, so that public speaking is like one of the, they say it's number one, whether it is, and we'll say top three, right? Just for argument's sake, of speaking in front of large groups of people. I reckon video marketing, doing video for your brand, is probably a very close cousin of public speaking, right? And most people do not want to do it. They just don't, unless they're actually a very specific content creator. And what happens then, we have a bunch of people who have great businesses, but they're just the best kept secret because nobody knows about them. And whether people like it or not, in the current economy, video marketing is the fastest way for you to be able to reach your customer. It's the fastest way you're going to be able to build authority, build brand awareness, educate people on what you're doing because you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, streaming.
YouTube.
YouTube, like there's so many, and it's all leaning into the video. So that's the first thing, is if you're not doing video, this is sort of a hack for you to do video until you get the confidence to be able to do video. That's the first kind of one, because the objections I used to get from people running an agency: I don't have the time, I don't know what to say, and I don't like how I look on camera. Those were my three objections. So I built the product around the objections. So I said, well, what if I solved that you only had to look good once on camera? That I would script what you actually had to say. And once you had done your 2-minute video, you would never have to re-record it again. If I solved all of those problems, would you buy my product? And I got an over resounding yes from people. So, so then that's one reason. If you're not someone who's already doing video, another reason is simply volume and scale, right? We can create masses amounts of content with the avatars right now, and then put that out where you could be doing like a reel every 5 minutes if you really wanted to, like depending on the level of effort that you put in. So being able to put it out there and get in the brand awareness to be able to do and curate the content without all of that narrative that goes around it. And then the next one is just the cost. Like I have someone right now, they're doing 800 minutes, which is just shy of 10 hours. Well, maybe we'll say 12 hours. I don't know if he's going to use the whole, we benchmark for 10 hours, but, and he's recording it all course content with his avatar. How long would it take him to sit down and record 10 hours of course content perfectly? And he's just every day going in creating videos and videos. So the time saving, the money saving, the convenience, and just the level that you could take it to with brand awareness across all of the platforms.
It's pretty kind of fascinating. And, this concept of AI avatars or clones, today we're talking about it as a actual like pre-scripted kind of thing. But very soon this could be a live experience, right? This could be like an interactive experience with a quote unquote virtual salesperson, right? I mean, that's coming, right?
It's already there. It's already there, right? So you have right now, you can build a private like LLM. Well, it's not. I wouldn't say it's private LLM but it is to you. You can put in your own data into an LLM, connect the avatar, and then the avatar is interactive. So that avatar can be put on your website, and then as long as it has the answer in the back, it will actually go and it will pull the data and it will respond like it's an interactive experience.
That's pretty crazy. That's really cool. Okay, so let's start by defining what actually is an AI avatar / video clone. Like, let's just define it at its most basic level so people can wrap their heads around it. And then let's talk about like actually some of the cool things that you've been doing with them and some of your clients have been doing with them.
Yeah, so what we do very specifically, because you'll see there's a couple of technologies out there where you can use other people's visual, right? And some of them can look a little bit robotic. It's getting a bit better, but you can use other people's visual. Our concept is not. I mean, I am creating a version of you with your voice, your nuances, your like. I do a long blink. Apparently, I didn't know I ever did a long blink until I recorded an avatar, and the avatar started blinking for these extended period of time. I was like, oh, how interesting! I never knew I did that, but. So we are creating an actual version of you that looks exactly like you. Well, it is exactly like you, because how the technology works, it takes a 2-minute video and then you put that on, and then the technology rolls forward, records every nuance and everything, and then it just rolls back again, and it just keeps doing that over and over again. That's how the technology actually works in creating the avatar. So when people say, well, that doesn't look exactly like me, I'm like, no, it is exactly like you. You just don't know that you look like that because you've never watched yourself, or your nuances. So it's very, very interesting when people's when they see themselves, sometimes it can be very, but it is getting so close. Up until 2024 we were still doing a lot of work on trying to making sure that all of the nuances were being captured, but I would arguably say at the end of 2024 we hit it to the point I don't even think you can distinguish right now. But like before, if you had a side by side, you would be kind of able to tell. But we're getting to a point now where it's actually unrecognizable.
So we already talked about the example of a course that you could create. So just so I can wrap my heads around this, let's say that you're a writer, or let's say that you're a podcaster, right? You can record your voice, or you can script a course on something that you're an expert in. And then essentially, is the idea here that you feed the script to the AI avatar? Is that the concept we're really talking about here?
Yeah, so we have two options the way that we do it, and we're about to launch a third one. So we have two where you can upload your own script. So you can go and create it, you can upload your own one, and then it'll verbatim recite back exactly what's on that script. We have a scripting engine inbuilt on the platform where you can actually just give it, a headline. You can choose demographic styles, you can choose personas, you can choose marketing frameworks, and it will generate you the script. And the next one that we're moving towards now is that, with the GPT agents and assistants, people are creating these in the background where they're pre-trained models or pre-trained assistants on a particular data set, that you would actually be able to connect the GPT assistant and it will pull the information from that data set.
Well, and also, what about the audio podcasters out there that have like these libraries of audio podcasts, but they never recorded video?
Yeah, and I really see this as the benefit. I say for the introverted podcaster, right? So we have so many people who only do audio, but only doing audio right now it's just not enough, right? When you see, if you look on Instagram right now, all of the really big podcasters not only have their own accounts where they're doing short form content on Instagram Reels, or they also have multiple sort of clipper accounts, right? So people have detailed Discord channels, and then they go in and they upload the video, and then these people clip them, and you could find, not to use Andrew Tate as an example, right? There was thousands of profiles out there pretending to be Andrew Tate, and they're clipping his video content, and they're circulating that out, and that's how he's getting such the volume and the views. But if you're a podcaster and you're not doing the video, you're missing out on that opportunity, that those little bite-sized pieces of really great content are actually going to be heard by a wider audience or seen by a wider audience, because not all of your audience is going to be auditory. Some are going to be visual. And it doesn't matter how good the audio you give them, if they don't have that visual experience to be able to connect with you, they're not really going to subscribe into it. So with the idea of what you can do with the podcast is you could take the podcast, find the clips on it, like use AI to clip the potential viral moments, have your avatar created, and then just load up that, and it's going to automatically create the video for you. So then that video can go out on social media. So no podcaster ever has to sit there and say, I'm not doing video because I don't want to do video, because you only need to do the video once for 2 minutes, and then it's there for the rest of the time you actually want to put out that content.
Just so I understand, what we're not talking about is taking an audio only podcast and generating a video that is the voice of the actual podcaster, right? Or are we talking about that?
I did that. I actually did it, and I created it, and then I sent it. People were like, what do you mean? I was like, I did a whole 22-minute segment with an avatar in a podcast studio.
So does this mean that you can, for example, let's say before I started doing video podcasts, I've got a popular podcast episode I did years ago. Does that mean I could load that audio up right now, and the technology is smart enough, as long as it's trained, to use my actual vocals, but have the video model it, or is it transcribing and redoing it? I'm just curious fundamentally how that works. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it would depend on how you'd want to do it. So the first thing that we would do is create the visual, right? So we would have the visual there. Let's say we took a visual of you right now with the headphones on and the
Right.
gray t-shirt headset, right? So we'd create the visual. Then we would take that audio clip, and we would you could upload it directly onto the platform, and it would create the entire episode if you took the full script. Or you could take that full script and then put that into a GPT assistant that was to look for viral content, find the couple, let's say, any under the 90-second marks of like these bite-sized pieces of content, and really release those as footage. Or even better still, you could do both. And then you can do the long form content, publish that on YouTube, then do the short form content, load up the videos and tag the short form content and redirect them over to your YouTube. And you've still never recorded the video.
So just to be crystal clear, what we're really doing here, though, is we're taking a transcript of my audio and then re-rendering it in a new AI audio. Is that correct? So it won't
Correct.
sound exactly the same. Okay, cool.
Well, just on that, you actually can upload the actual audio too. You don't have to upload. Yeah, no, we support the upload of the
So
audio.
the actual audio, and then the video will track to my audio and my breaks and all that stuff, and That okay, fascinating.
Yeah, and it'll sync. So yeah, you can upload the audio file. Now we do find it's not as perfect because I have a challenge with my accent because
Right.
of the Irish accent. We don't have enough data because we're powered by ElevenLabs, which is the market leader right now in the voice cloning technology. But they just don't have enough of a data set on the Irish accent yet. So I sound a cross between British and Australian when I do it. But
Got
we
it.
use we used to have to do that. I had to load up my own audio file so that it would be able to get my accent.
Yeah, we're going to talk, folks, about the tech that is powering this behind the scenes if somebody is brave enough to go ahead and try this on their own. Now, other things we talked about when we were prepping for this interview, outside of podcasts and reels and shorts and stuff, is also welcome videos. And then you also said something about interactive video. Is that what we were talking about earlier with the example of being able to interact with somebody kind of like a salesperson or something like that?
Yeah, you could have interactive video elements on your website for when customers ask questions. You can also have your FAQs on your website. Could then, you take the answer to the FAQ so that you create a video section on your website. You can have, we have one that someone's testing right now at the moment with MMS marketing. We're using the avatar videos to create videos, and then we're sending those out as mass text message campaigns where people are getting a video now instead of an actual just a little short form text. You can use it for where else do we see the use cases? Yeah, the welcome videos. You can embed them
Webinars.
into
You probably could use them for webinars, I would imagine, maybe.
webinar. Yeah, especially if you've used the interactive, right? If you had a moderated Zoom there and someone was typing into the chat and the chat is connected into the interactive. And I think we will get to that point. And, they're trying to find how, because the challenge that you have is I don't know if you saw there at the end of December, they came out with the legislation saying it's now illegal to buy followers, likes, and views on social media, right? It's a violation of the guidelines to be able to do that from a business perspective. But I'm like, yes, that would have been useful 5 years ago. But
Oh,
now
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
everybody's already done it. So, the horse is bolted. Now we're closing the stable door. But so I think that it's very much the same with AI. They're trying to control it, to figure out how to control it because if we have a streaming avatar, right? Let's say I'm using a stream and it is there and people are working to try to make it better. Like, you don't know if we're having this Zoom. Are you talking to me or are you talking to my avatar? Because if my avatar is pre-trained on a data set in the background on my data set, it could speak like me, talk like me, look like me, respond like me, but it may not be me. So, and this is a very sort of the
That's where
tech.
disclosure is probably important, right?
Very, yeah. I always try to, when I send out, I'm like, hi, I'm Avatar Bill, or this is Avatar Aoife, but the reality is we do have several profiles. I won't name the platform so I don't get people in trouble, that are 100% run by avatar versions of my clients.
Well, and frankly, just as of a few days ago, Facebook recently rolled out, some new AI stuff that they're doing. They're creating these AI characters, but it's pretty obvious they're AI. But it's fascinating. What else? What do we need to be thinking about before let's say, all right, Aoife, you've kind of sold me a little bit on this, but there's some things maybe we need to process in our
Sure.
mind before we actually begin with something like this.
Well, definitely, I've had it more than once with people calling me in an absolute state of panic. They're like, I signed up to, because you have third party vendors and suppliers or whatever. I'm not the only person who's access to this technology. We're just powered by a technology. And they're like, I signed up, something has gone wrong. Now this person has my visual. Now they have my voice. I don't know how to get it back. I don't know how to get it off. So I need people to really understand you have to be very mindful of the ethics of the people that you're dealing with and understand what are the terms and conditions that actually are in place for you. Because when you work with me, or it could be any of the other tech partners who are leveraging it, I literally have the power to create a video of you saying absolutely anything,
Mm.
right? So you've got to be careful with that. But now I'm ethical, we have very strict guidelines around what we use and what we don't use. But if we have, because we do a managed service, but I could literally, do a video and say, hey, I think we should give Aoife all of our money. Let's pay her millions of dollars for these videos. And it would look like you, it would sound like you, and to the naked eye, people would think that it's you. So I want people just to be, make sure that you are reading the terms and conditions before you sign up. What is the opt-out policy? What actually happens if, for us, our avatars expire and you cannot re-enable them unless the active subscription that was originally that created the thing is reactivated. So once it expires, it's toast on our side, right? So we can't ever reuse the avatar. So I think people need to be very mindful of the platforms that they're using and who they're dealing with. And then the other thing that I see, I wanted to do this in the beginning, but I didn't do it for this reason. And now I see a bunch of other companies doing it, but I'm still not, the ethical side of it, I'm a little bit on the fence about right now. I'm seeing a lot of people sign away their visual. Because, like actors and people who are like maybe not, trying to get ahead and it's just not working. So then they get the opportunities and they go into these big, because they do run big events for recruitment events, and you go in and you just film your 2-minute video and it seems like nothing and it sounds like nothing. And then you sign your little waiver and you walk out the door, but you're essentially signing your visual away. And that visual is going to be sold to somebody else. So if you're someone who's like a devout vegan, you can't be upset if you end up on a McDonald's ad because you signed away your visual, right? So people just got to be careful to understand, even though the technology sounds simple in theory to create it, you've got to be aware what would happen if that fell into the wrong hands.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's say we want to get started. You mentioned multiple times that we need a 2-minute video. Talk to me a little bit about, because I've seen some bad iterations of people messing around with HeyGen where the video just looks a little wonky. Something's wrong, right? So how do we create a video in such a way that is going to increase the likelihood that it represents me correctly on the first go round?
Yeah, and that is the essential part, right? Because the output is only as ever good as the input, right? And it surprises me how much people want to shortcut this process, and then they get upset when they have an avatar and it comes out and it's like, you've given me a foggy lens, or you're zoomed into the camera, or, I'm like, guys, like we all have 4K cameras. Nearly everyone has a 4K camera. Just go find it. You have to have good lighting, number one, right? Sounds basic, but you would be surprised. The movements, do not try to script something and read it, okay? Because then you're it's like a focused effort where I can see someone's really concentrating on what they're trying to do. What I talk to people when we record the video, I'm like, tell me about your business. Why do you do what you do? Very simple, should be very conversational. No big hand gestures. So if I did this in the video, because I told you the way the technology works, it rolls back and it rolls forward. So if I do this at 30 seconds in, you can be pretty guaranteed I might be doing a video talking about a really serious topic, and all of a sudden I'm going to go like this, and it doesn't fit into the video. So you got to be very careful with your hand movement, eye contact. I don't think people often realize how much their eyes flicker. So I'm like, now we do have technology now that fixes the eyes, but I think it can make people look a little bit odd. So I prefer not to do that.
So look directly into the camera when you're talking, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
Don't look down, don't look up. Laughing, that's another one. People tend to get nervous and they'll laugh, when they're doing it. And I'm like, yeah, but that's okay. But that laugh is going to come into a video and it may come in at a very inappropriate time. So like we try, when we're onboarding people, we have calls with them and we give them the instructions to do that. We very rarely have someone get their avatar in the first attempt. Very rarely.
So there's a lot of things, like I'm watching you as you speak, and not everybody's watching the video version of this, but there's things that you naturally do, like your eyes get wide. Sometimes when you're excited, you look up to the left or the right, depending on when you're thinking, and you nod your head from side to side, and you do all these different things, right, when you're listening to me. I would imagine it's kind of important you not be super stiff, right?
For sure.
You want to actually be as natural and comfortable as possible because it's going to hopefully pick up your natural nuances. Like I'm not even aware, like you said, you weren't aware of yours until after you really trained the model and you're like, oh, when I blink a little longer than your average human, which I never would have picked up on. You
It's
know what I mean? And smiling, right? Like if you want to smile, I would imagine you're going to have to smile if you want the avatar to smile, right?
For sure. And people take it very seriously, and I'm like, it's almost the more relaxed you are, the
Yeah.
better the avatar.
Okay.
Because as long as there's not big, bold movements that's going to throw off the avatar, like I'm not the biggest fan, unless it's a walking avatar. I'm not the biggest fan of a standing avatar. I think when people are standing in front,
A standing avatar. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Because your shoulders move around too much or something.
yeah, it's just I think people just kind of when you put a camera and you get someone to stand in a spot and then you put it in their face, I think they just inherently get nervous.
Hmm.
That where when they're seated or because you can do walking avatars now as well, right? So the avatar is moving. You can
Okay.
actually film your 2-minute video of you actually moving and it'll track and trace that movement, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
But the I like to have people sitting down either in a chair or at their desk or something kind of conversational. And I think that creates a better avatar. I've a couple that I did in front of green screens. We spent all this money getting them done when we were just learning, and I'm like, that's not how I move or how I talk, or so I think that the simpler you can make it, the better.
Does it have to be 2 minutes? Can it be longer than 2 minutes?
Longer, we do longer is better in many cases because you get more kind of movements and gestures. But yeah, a minimum is 2 minutes. But it surprises me how people, when it comes to doing a 2-minute video talking about themselves, they're like, it's a long time. It can come across as a long time, but it's really not.
Okay, so for people like you who have longer hair, talk to me about how it handles the hair movement and all that kind of stuff, right? Because that's got to be an issue sometimes, right?
I've had the issue with the beard, believe
Oh,
it or not.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The technology and it's gotten better with the last couple of iterations, but the beard moved,
Okay.
and it
Oh,
was just
but the mouth didn't move and the beard didn't move. Okay. What about like does it get to like you have long hair and when you nod your hair moves a little bit. Does it
that will
capture all
move.
that stuff?
Yeah, it'll move. We have one, which is someone, he had his hand on his lap and he was tapping his fingers like this. And
Okay.
the tapping of the fingers is in, so, which actually makes it look more realistic because
Okay.
you're like, okay, you have this hand movement here, which is just seems very natural. You couldn't do that with AI, but it is, yeah. So gentle, natural kind of things are good, but there are some nuances, like the beard one was a problem for us. But we haven't solved that yet.
How much of you is in the frame typically when you're recording? Are we talking like chest up or what part are we
Yeah,
talking?
so I always say I always record horizontal, okay, because you can always cut into vertical, but you cannot take vertical into horizontal. So we always get people to, and then our software, the way that it'll do it, it'll just take it and it'll cut into the vertical video, but don't be on top of the camera either, right? They send me these videos and then we cut it into vertical and it's like this like massive zoom in and I'm like, that's not helping anyone. Let's say, so you want to be like maybe, if I was to do one, maybe like 2 feet back kind of from the
Okay.
camera so that you have a better range of to play with because knowing that you're going to probably cut the video.
What about the backdrops?
It depends on how you want it. Like you can put your green screens, right? We because we do a managed service, we strip out the backgrounds and put in because we do fully edited videos. But if
Okay.
you were like, let's say for example, if you do your content on a regular basis in like let's say what you do in the podcast studio, then that's your natural environment. I'm
Right.
going to put in your natural environment because then it's going to look more natural.
Right.
But you can always put it in front of a green screen. There is a functionality now to remove the backgrounds. There's also functionality to change the clothes, but I'm not sure if we're really at the remove background because sometimes there can be something if someone has something green, even on green screens, right? With the
Mhm.
best edits, you can still have things blurring in that shouldn't. So I think we'll get there eventually, but I would just say do it in a natural environment.
Okay, so let's talk tech for a second here. Once we've recorded a really great video and we've listened to all the tips you're talking about, let's talk about HeyGen and ElevenLabs a little bit, like for those that want to try to do this on their own. Tell us what we need to know about each of these tools.
Yeah, so HeyGen is our tech partner for the visual, right? So, and they are, I would say, the best. People to have other, I think there's other competing products, but they are the best visual technology for sure. Um, with them, you can just sign up. It's very, very straightforward to go in and create your avatar. They give you the brief instructions, and you do that. Now, the only challenge that I would say on that, it's the platform can be a little bit complicated to learn and to use. There is a little bit of time that you need to put in there to actually learn the platform. And especially if you have scenes or scripts that run over multiple variations and things like that, like it can be a little bit of a challenge. So there is a little bit of work there, but they do have their help section in their videos, but they don't offer anything that's a managed service. You're on your own. It's a completely do it yourself. And then go
Real
ahead.
quick on HeyGen, does it only do video and not audio?
So you can't extract the audio independently of the video.
You can or you cannot.
You cannot.
Okay, so is that where ElevenLabs comes in?
So yeah, so ElevenLab, you can upload audio to HeyGen, but you cannot. So let's say, for example, for anyone who's not familiar with ElevenLabs is simply a voice cloning technology, right? You can upload 2 minutes of your voice up into ElevenLabs. It'll take it up, store it up there, and then you can synchronize your ElevenLabs using an API into HeyGen. So
Okay.
you could have multiple different. So the way it clones your voice on the HeyGen side, similar to what we do, you either extract the audio from the video, that video that came in, or you either upload your own audio file, or you have your ElevenLabs account where you've created multiple different audio files. So you've kind of three ways to get the voice into the platform. But using the API in ElevenLabs, you can then have, because you might have, and it also gives you more control in ElevenLabs to adjust tonation and cadence and accuracy. But you might have a very excited voice versus you might have one that's a little bit more vanilla if you were doing your course. And we put that into SuperDupe where you could adjust the tonation because we realized it's not the same for like how I do a TikTok is not the same how as I record a course.
Right.
So yeah, that you can either try to do that in ElevenLabs and import it that way, but HeyGen in general will just extract the audio from the video.
Okay, so I think what I hear you say is that ElevenLabs is really the superior voice cloning technology. And if you want to have the most amount of flexibility, it sounds like you're going into ElevenLabs and you're training ElevenLabs just on your audio of your voice in the same way you train HeyGen on your audio and your video together, right? And ElevenLabs, I don't know, is HeyGen even powered by ElevenLabs, or do you
It
think
is,
that?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so HeyGen is actually utilizing ElevenLabs, but they don't have all the features and functionalities. So you can go directly to ElevenLabs, is what I'm hearing you say, and really tweak your audio so it sounds exactly like you. Does it even get things like breath and just the little isms that we have in our voices? You know how we have like different things that we do in our voice?
Yeah, and it does. It's still not perfect, right? There's still work on ElevenLabs. Like we record audiobooks in ElevenLabs right now, and like sometimes it can go up and down, or there can be, something will change, or one paragraph will sound perfect and another paragraph doesn't sound perfect. But that's the evolution of AI, right? And you have to say today is the worst it's ever going to be. Like it's
Got
not,
it.
so but yeah, so then you would you can API your your ElevenLabs account into HeyGen, and then you get full access to the suite of voices that you've been able to adjust and change in ElevenLabs, where in HeyGen you'll just actually get the voice. Like it has one voice that it took from the video, unless
Got
you
it.
upload a different voice.
Got it. So if you really care about your voice, and you might if you're a podcaster, because maybe you have a big library of incredibly high quality audio that you've created, you could train up a really good version of your audio inside of ElevenLabs, connect on the backside via the API to that. And then is HeyGen smart enough to know when the tonation changes or the excitement level changes to change the person's, you know how like when I get excited, like my eyebrows go up and my facial characteristics change. Is it smart enough to know to do that based on?
It's getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, it is getting there where I'm seeing the gestures and the movements are much more succinct with the actual words being said. And
Hmm.
I know that there was on their roadmap the idea that you would be able to manipulate the gestures. So that you could actually make the now I don't think that's been released, but I know that they had that on a roadmap. So like for example, if I recorded a video and had a very excited movement, the idea that I would be able to screen grab that movement and be able to put it in and embed it into a video where I thought it was most appropriate. But we're not there yet. But we'll get there.
What about editing? Is it to the point where you can? I would imagine. I get the sense it's kind of like you render it. Maybe you render a couple iterations. You get to pick your favorite. But is there a lot of editing capabilities in HeyGen where maybe you did something you don't like and you don't want that? You want that one little thing tweaked, or is
You
that
got to
not really?
re-render again.
You got to
Yeah,
rewrite.
there's
Yeah.
but they did move to putting it onto an unlimited package, and I think that was to pretty much try to solve that problem, right? Because people go in and they try it, and then especially if you spend a lot of time rendering a video, right, and you've got it ready, and then you render it, and then you realize that there's a mispronunciation of a word or something. Like before, if that was like let's say a 5-minute video, you were charged 5 credits, and then you found out there was a problem after the rendering, and then you had to go back and get charged another 5 credits. And I think that there was probably some levels of frustration from a user perspective. So now they've made it unlimited, so you get unlimited attempts to try to correct it. But where the problem where most people will go wrong is the input video hasn't been is it there's eye flickering or big hand gestures or something. That's one challenge. Or it will be that they didn't actually take the time to really read, because people, it's like this happened to me yesterday. Someone sent me a script and they were like, oh, it's an amazing script, and I'm not taking away from the fact that the script was a good script, but it didn't read well.
That's what I want to talk to you about next. How do we actually script it in a way that sounds like it's speaking? Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, you have to listen like that, because that's it. They ask you the exact same question. They're like, but I just want to send you the scripts. How do I make the script good? Because you can adjust and put tonation and punctuation. You can do that. And we put that in the Super D platform where we have an entire window where you listen to it paragraph by paragraph before we ever allow you to go on to append it onto the visual.
Ah,
Because and I sit there and I just listen. Almost close my eyes and I'm like, okay, if this was a conversation, is this? And if it's not, then I'll go back and I might add a double exclamation mark or a space, or I might separate the paragraph, or I might have to phonetically have a word adjusted, because like for example I had one, their surname was F-R-I-E-D and it's pronounced Freed, but it was calling him Fried. And it's not wrong,
yeah.
but it's not
You have to
correct
spell
either.
it Freed or something like that in
Yeah,
order to get it.
exactly. So you kind of sometimes you have to have a play around with that, but people can just get a little bit excited and go, oh, I'm just going to render the video and it's going to be perfect. No, you need that auditory aspect of it is the definition between a really good video and just an average video. It's that cadence, it's the tonation, it's the pronunciation. And just knowing, okay, that word sounded good in a script, but it doesn't fit into this conversation.
Is there
So
is there any like tools like ChatGPT or Claude that you can feed the scripted to and say recraft this script in a speaking style? I mean, are they there yet? Do you understand what I'm
yeah,
saying?
so yeah, I try to do that with it, and with especially with ChatGPT, but it often will give you back the whole scenes and everything else, and then
Yeah.
so then I try to do it with only the narration. But you would have to do only narration with a trained GPT assistant that would be trained on your brand voice,
I
right? That
see.
would
Yeah, yeah.
really be the way that you want to do it. But we're still, the two things that I have right now, they're the viral clips, being able to identify the viral. I think we talked about that, the viral pieces of content, and the ability to read an audio in a way that it doesn't sound like it's AI generated. They're the two kind of things that are on my plate at the moment to try to figure out.
So a lot of people that are listening right now are like, man, that's a lot of work. I have to create a really perfect video. right? I have to train up ideally some sort of a tool like ElevenLabs on getting my vocal cadence, style, isms, all the things down. Then I've got to make sure that I script it in such a way that it sounds like me. For some people, they're like, I may as well just do it. But for all the reasons you said earlier, people don't do this. The good news is I would imagine is if they were to work with an agency like you and what you're doing at SuperDupe, you're going to get them at least out of the gate with really good stuff. And then if they wanted to, eventually, they could probably go to ElevenLabs and train up their own model and go to HeyGen if they really wanted to. But what I love about what you're doing is you're bringing the video side of it, the audio side of it, and the scripting side of it all together in a way that's kind of challenging. And I'm guessing that once you get this figured out, then you learn to write in a way that you speak,
Exactly.
and then it just starts rolling. Is that right?
Yeah, so like for example, with my clients, and a lot of my clients are like, CEOs, and
Right.
and the last thing that they want to be doing is sitting down doing videos, right? They just don't want to do that, right? So, but what we do is we'll take them in, we'll set them up, we work with them to create the visual and the video. That can be multiple iterations. We work with them. We often take their voice because their audio, their mics not have, might be, we could put it into Adobe Podcast, clean up the audio, do all of these things so that before we'll ever load it onto the platform, then we'll go in the background, we'll create a GPT assistant for them, we'll train it on their voice, their model, their brand style, and then that GPT assistant is actually what's writing the script. So there's a lot of pre-work done before we've ever even rendered a video. Then when we render the video, we take the videos then, and we've got like 5 of their top creators, we've got their editing style, their b-roll style, their captions. So my clients end up at the beginning or end of every month, either on the very end or the beginning, they get 15 or 20 videos that are just dropped into their Google Drive if we're not the one scheduling the content. So then they're like, okay, this is amazing because now we tick the box of be present on social media in January, and it just gets shopped into their inbox. So people will pay for that ease of use. And then where we schedule them for them, then they just, I've had multiple people come back and say to me, I had to got so many comments about that video. I had to go back and see what it said.
That is so cool. Well, you definitely have gotten me to the point where I'm like, maybe I'll consider something like this.
Yeah, you should
Aoife,
too.
if people want to connect with you on the socials, what's your preferred platform? And be sure to spell your name out. And then if people want to work with you, where do you want to send them?
Yeah, perfect. So LinkedIn is one of my primary platforms. So that's Aoife, that's Aoife, and it's Roche, Roche, for my LinkedIn platform. You can find me on Instagram as well, which is Aoife's Aoife, J Roche. But yeah, LinkedIn is definitely the easier one. And then to actually work, you can actually go on to www.superdupe.ai, or just search SuperDupe platform on Instagram if you're curious to be like, actually, I want to see what these avatars look like. Every video on that SuperDupe platform, Instagram, is an avatar. So you can go and you can see all of the different ways and the styles so that people can actually, because sometimes seeing is believing.
Aoife Roche, thank you so much for sharing all your insights with us today.
I appreciate you and thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to seeing your avatar.